News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Yesterday, Missoula remembered 9/11. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Congratulations, you made it. It's Friday, September the 12th, 2014. Thanks for joining us. Right now we have 27 degrees. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we did set a new record low for September the 12th. Okay, the record low was 28 back in 1988. The Weather Bureau tells us we got down to 26 this morning. Right now it's 27 degrees under a clear, starry, nippy sky out there. Yeah, all right. So our newscast this morning is sponsored by Temp-Rite Service. Any plumbing or heating problems, your furnace is probably kicking on. Call Team Blue at 728-1111. Missoula citizens, soldiers, law enforcement, and fire personnel all gathered at Rose Memorial Park last night to remember September 11, 2001. The ceremony featured prayers, a bugler, bagpipes, a 21-gun salute, and nearly 3,000 small American flags fluttering in the evening breeze. Among the speakers, newly elected Missoula County Sheriff T.J. McDermott.
Tonight's service is properly titled the Never Forget Service. That's because as Americans, we will never forget the 3,000 innocent men, women, and children that were killed in these attacks.
In the honor guard, former SEAL commander and U.S. House candidate Ryan Zinke reminded the crowd of the sacrifices it takes to remain free.
I am grateful of the dedication of the men and women of the military, as well as the firemen, and all those who put public service ahead of themselves. I'm grateful to this country. We are American. And American, we need to stand together in defense of liberty.
The ceremony ended with a bugler sounding taps. A man who was accused of plotting to kidnap talk show host David Letterman's young son and nanny 9 years ago has been released from prison. Montana Department of Corrections spokeswoman Judy Beck says Kelly Frank was released yesterday after his parole request was granted in June. Beck says Frank will live in Las Vegas under the supervision of the Nevada Division of Parole and Probation. Frank had been hired as a painter on Letterman's ranch near the Rocky Mountain front. He was arrested in March of 2005 on charges that he planned to abduct the 16-month-old boy and nanny and hold them for $5 million in a ransom. Letterman had no comment. Missoula Public Schools have had some administrative shuffling after the principal and vice principal at Sentinel High School were suspended for what the school system refers to as an ethics violation. Some parents have complained about not knowing the details, but Superintendent Alex Apostle says he has no regrets about how that was handled.
We have an obligation to respect the individuals that were involved in this situation, and we have rules and regulations as it relates to state law, and we followed them very precisely, and we followed through with in a way that we should have.
Apostle says he has had very little outcry about the issue.
You know, I've heard through email from 7 parents. And I've responded to those parents through email, citing the parameters in which we made this decision. I've also made phone calls to a couple of the parents. So I have not had a barrage of parents, quite honestly, that have addressed this issue with me.
Former Sentinel High School Assistant Principal Libby Oliver has been reassigned to Hellgate, while Sentinel Principal Tom Blakely is still on leave. It's unclear whether he will be reassigned. U.S. wildlife officials expanding protections for Canada lynx to include animals in New Mexico, while again denying critical habitat designations for the elusive wildcats in the southern Rockies. Their yesterday's two-part finding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service means the lynx will be protected as threatened throughout the lower 48 states. Lynx in New Mexico's San Juan and Sangre de Cristo mountain ranges previously were not protected. Montana's a confirmed case of enterovirus D68, a respiratory disease that's been spreading through the U.S. and is now over 11 states. State epidemiologist Carl Milhan says public health officials are watching the spread of the disease, but that the public should know that it's nothing new.
Well, essentially, enteroviruses are very common. CDC estimates there's 10 to 15 million cases of them per year. This particular subtype, the D68, is not extremely common, but they have records of it going back to 1962.
Milhan says a lot of the reason for the public's alarm over this disease may simply be better technology.
It's a little unusual that it's been associated with these clusters in a lot of hospitals in younger kids, but not completely out of the norm. A lot of our surveillance systems and testing technologies improve all the time, and as a result, we're beginning to see these things more clearly than we did in the past.
Milhan said the confirmed case came out of Billings and that they are now in the process of running tests on many samples from across Montana. The Commissioner of Political Practices says a Bozeman man who filed 3 complaints with the commissioner earlier this year has himself violated campaign reporting requirements. Commissioner Jonathan Modell found Republican David Ponte failed to deposit $260 in reported cash contributions, used his campaign account to cash $830 in checks that were not campaign donations, and failed to file his final report after the 2012 general election. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports Model's decision on Tuesday says Ponte must file a report closing his 2012 campaign with the state legislature before he could run again for public office. Montana Senator John Tester's constitutional amendment to limit outside spending in elections failed to receive enough votes to move forward in the Senate yesterday. Despite having the support of a majority in the Senate, the measure fell victim to a filibuster.
We must put regular people and their ideas back in charge of our elections. Look, amending the Constitution is not something that we should take lightly. The Constitution is our founding document, and it's held up under the test of time. But big money interests and defenders of Citizens United are distorting our First Amendment for their own gain. Getting big money out of elections is critical to improving how we govern, make responsible decisions for all Americans. It's critical to electing leaders, put people first.
Tester said his amendment would have clarified that the federal government has the ability to limit the raising and spending of money in federal elections, and that states have the ability to limit money in state elections. A homeless man reported to Missoula police that he was sexually assaulted in downtown Missoula by an unidentified man early Wednesday morning. Public Information Officer Travis Welsh said the 20-year-old victim said he was assaulted by an older man.
They walked down to East Broadway to about the 500 block and then turned north and went into an adjacent alley where the older man sprayed some kind of liquid in his face, forced him to the ground, and then sexually assaulted him.
Walsh said the victim described his assailant.
A white male, 40 to 60 years old. He was anywhere from 5 feet 9 to 5 feet 11 inches tall. He weighed between 150, 170 pounds. He was said to have brown hair and brown eyes. Last seen wearing a blue and orange coat and blue jeans.
Welsh is asking anyone who may know of someone matching that description to contact Detective Connie Bruckner at 552-6300. News Talk time now is 6:10.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Ample sunshine in the forecast today with our high temperatures topping out in the upper 60s to right around 70. Mostly clear tonight with our lows right around 40. Winds will be breezy this evening with wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.